Matt, I'm struck by how you described the killing of Sinwar as a seismic event. Really, you believe that it was a seismic event at the level of, let's say, something like a nuclear bomb or something like that? Really, I mean,
It is absolutely a seismic event in the Middle East. When you look at who he was and what he was responsible for, he was someone who made the decision, and it was his, as I said at the beginning, it was his decision to launch the terrorist attacks. Someone who, after the death of Hania, didn't just have military control of Hamas, but had political control of Hamas as well. And he is the person who has been the prime obstacle to ending the war and stopping the suffering of the Palestinian people. So absolutely, it is an important event.
It was a firefight. He had two other people with him.
I suppose we disagree about the relative importance of the death
Whatever.
of Sinwar. I think it's a pretty important event.
That's what the Israelis are saying, not me. I don't know. Now, let me ask you a couple of things. Now, you keep saying that Hamas absolutely refused it. As far as all the people that were involved in negotiations from the Arab side, the Qataris, the Egyptians, and so on, they all say that Hamas agreed 100% to your proposal.
No,
it was the Israelis that rejected.
They don't, Saeed.
And they went on.
They don't, Saeed, and that's not what happened.
Okay,
You and I have been through this before.
That's fine. I'm just trying to,
I know, but you and I have been through this before.
Right,
They came back with a counter proposal, which is not an acceptance of the proposal that was put forward and endorsed by the United Nations Security Council. If I give you a proposal, Saeed, and you come back and say, I agree to 7 of the things you propose, and on these 3 others I have major changes, that is not an acceptance of my proposal.
But the Israeli answer was to go ahead and kill the chief negotiator, right? Who was not carrying a gun, was sleeping actually in a guest house, wasn't it?
What is there a question?
And I'm just saying at that point. Okay, yes, I do have a couple of questions. You also said that whoever comes next, Hamas, they would look back and reassess what happened in the last year and so on.
I didn't say they would. I said I hoped they would.
You hope they would. Yes, I said that you hope that they would. Does that mean that you would be willing to negotiate with Hamas directly if someone?
No. The Hamas is a terrorist organization. The United States does not engage with terrorist organizations, but of course we will engage with our mediators who engage with
So
them.
what would be the incentive for this? I mean, it seems now that no one is having command and control over Hamas. I mean, probably everyone is running.
What would be the incentive? How about an end to the war?
No,
How about stopping the death of Palestinian civilians?
Maybe,
what more incentive should a leader of Hamas need than that?
Right. Okay. But I'm saying that if someone like Sinwar, who exerted a great deal of power and control and so on, was unable to basically, negotiate or do something like this, or make sure that he could deliver Hamas, what makes you think that
I don't think you should make excuses for Sinwar. He was not unable to negotiate. He was unwilling to negotiate.
I'm
Let's be clear about it.
He
had every ability to negotiate an end to this war, and he refused to. That's a big difference.
Now that he's gone, probably there is no structure. I don't know. I mean, so we don't know who is in control. Maybe maybe the hostages are in more peril. Let me ask you another question on. Let me. Okay. All right, let me ask you a question on.
I didn't think that was a question, so I wasn't responding to it.
Let me ask you a question on a proposal that is being, suggested that Secretary Blinken is going to consider proposing right after the elections about, that the Israelis and the Emiratis and so on are coming up with some sort of the day after. Can you share with us? Is there something to that report or to this suggestion, or would we hear something?
So I spoke to this yesterday. We have been in discussions with our Emirati partners, with Israeli partners, with other countries in the region as well. That's been the subject of a number of trips that the Secretary has conducted and has been the subject of ongoing diplomatic conversations. And I'm not going to predict from here when we might put forward some type of proposal, but we are very much seized with agreeing with our partners in the region on a proposal to provide actual security and governance and a political path forward for the Palestinian people.
It seems that the Israelis they want to see a diminished role for the PA and Mahmoud Abbas and the PLO. Apparently, would you agree?
So we have always made clear that one of the principles to which we adhere is unified West Bank and Gaza under the Palestinian Authority control, where the people of the West Bank and Gaza can choose their leadership, not anyone else. Yeah, Michelle.
Can we move to Lebanon?
Yeah.
If you don't mind. First, how can the United
Harris and the statement issued by President Biden, Sullivan at the White House as well, all considering killing Sinwar is a renewed opportunity to end the war in Gaza, and as you said, your priority is first to release the hostages, stop the fighting, and allow the Palestinians to rebuild their homes. But maybe there's also the question now arise that something that used to bother you when we asked you before, that this didn't start on October 7, started long ago, and if not solving those roots in the future, October 7 will keep happening again. And my question is, yes, you helped Israel to with weapons and weapon shipments and also political cover to achieve the military objective of eliminating the threats in Gaza and now the ongoing operation in southern Lebanon. But what are you going to do after the war to push Israel more toward the solution that you see fit for this conflict, especially that advising them seems to be enough?
So it's not just the United States making clear our views on this question, but it is countries in the region and countries around the world who have made clear their views on this question. In some cases, it's not just their views, it's their policies. So you'll recall that on a trip the Secretary made earlier this year, he went to Israel and made clear that what he had heard from countries in the region is that they were ready for a new path forward with Israel as well. There were countries in the region that were ready to put aside decades-long disputes and normalize relations with Israel, and present a new alliance of countries inside the region that would isolate Iran. So there are enormous benefits for Israel's security, for Israel's economic development, for Israel's relations with its neighbors and its standing in the world, to finding a political path forward that allows the Palestinian people to realize their aspirations. Now, I get the tension inherent in your question, which is we cannot make that choice for the government of Israel or for the people of Israel. All we can do is lay out to them the upside of ultimately moving forward with a path to a reunited Gaza and the West Bank and a political path forward for the Palestinian people. And we can lay out the risks of not pursuing that path, and the risks are well known. But it is Israel that has to make that decision in the same way that other countries in the decision have to, in the region, have to make their own decisions about the types of relationships that they want to have with Israel.
Matt, I mean, you must know that the world doesn't work this way. If one country doesn't adhere to UN Security Council resolutions, and in fact there will always be ways to force them toward it, whether by UN sanctions, American sanctions, more pressure on the government to abide by the international law. And the international law states that the West Bank is an occupied land, and the two-state solutions is the way forward. But I'm asking you, I know that other countries in the international community agrees with you, but you are blocking the international agencies like the UN and others from taking any action toward Israel to force it into making this decision. And at the same time, you as the most powerful Israel ally will not take these steps as well. You are just what are you doing? As I heard several times here in this briefing, you advise them, and whatever they want to do, they're going to do.
Because we believe that ultimately this is a pathway forward that needs to be negotiated among the parties, not imposed upon them. And that has been the longstanding position of the United States. It will continue to be our position. But without making any predictions of what will happen in the future, the two paths that I just laid out are very stark, and they're very different paths for the state of Israel, and they're very different paths for the region. And so we and other countries in the region will continue to make clear to Israel the risks of continued instability and the real rewards of a path forward for the Palestinian people, and they will have to make their decisions just as other countries do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Livia.